one thing I wanted to say is we're back and okayer than ever. I've been practicing that line because it's usually like we're back and better than ever.
Better.
We're okayer than ever, right? I guess we'll start by talking about these beers that we have in front of us today. These are brought to you by Modelo Company, and these are the special edition ones. He's drinking the Chelada Mango and Chili, and I'm drinking the Chelada Limon y Sal. So these are special. So I found, I'm a Modelo drinker anyway, but I found this type of Modelo, and I started buying them all up in El Paso, right? Well, I depleted El Paso of their Modelo green cans. You couldn't find them anymore. It wasn't because I bought them all, because of the whole COVID thing and whatnot. They stopped shipping and we started feeling the effects. So I recently went to California, right? And we started looking in stores and they had some.
Oh, wow.
Here I am coming back from California with $200+ worth of these beers.
I don't blame you.
And that's the story of these beers. They've been imported twice. Once from Mexico and then once from California to here. Yeah. But, I mean, worth it. I wouldn't go to California just to do it, but I was going to California anyway and decided if they're there, I'll bring them back with me.
But that's not an issue now, though, is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's still an issue. Like, you can't get this anywhere.
Nope. But, man, I found them in California. I bought 50... almost 60 cans of these, and at $2.50 a pop.
But it's just these. Like you can get like regular.
Even Modelo is filling it now. Regular Modelos are starting to be depleted in stores. Yeah.
I wonder what beer that's just nobody's touching.
Corona right now. You know, sales did go down for Corona.
That sucks, man.
Well, because I mean,
yeah,
people are just people, and they hear Corona.
But I mean, like you know what? It's been a while. Like I don't even call it the coronavirus. I just say COVID-19.
I don't even say anything.
Just like COVID.
Yeah.
Or I've been just saying like the pandemic. But you know what? A perfect time to retire. I'm retiring.
I couldn't have planned it better.
So I mean,
we were actually talking about like when we first came in, how different and things were, and how much a little decision can change everything. I was telling him when I went to when I joined, I went to MEPS in LA, and you have a physical that you do, and 20+ years ago, and you still do the physical. I don't know why I said 20+ years ago, but in doing so, when I'm doing my hearing, they were like, "You have terrible hearing. So we're not going to let you go through." And I'm like, "Is there any way you could just push me through?" And she's like, "Okay," and sent me through, because it was a different time back then. And so then when I got to basic training, they do another physical. And so they're like, "Your hearing is terrible." And I'm like, "Can't you just push me through?" And they're like, "What?" So I went to this holdover status for like weeks. I stayed, and I was never gung-ho in the first place, right? So when you start hanging out with people that are also getting out or whatever, then you decide that's what I want to get out. So I had plans already, what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out. I'm going to keep the jacket and stuff like that they issued you. So I go and I stand in front of this dude, and at the time he was like the most powerful guy that I've ever seen in my life, even though if he was the commander of a holdover squadron, then he probably was a piece of shit himself. But I stand before him and I'm like, he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" He runs through what's going on. "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I want to get out." I looked him right in the eyes and I want to get out. And he's like, "Okay." He writes some stuff down. He goes, "I'm going to do you a favor." He's like, "I'm going to push you through to basic training." And I was like, "What? Dude, I thought he said favor, right?" So I went to basic training and I was devastated. That leads me to another thing that kind of propelled me to succeed as well. I've always been like a competitive kind of guy too. So I left where we had the beds where we all stayed. I left there and I come back and they're like, "So how'd it go? And I'm like, "I'm going to basic training." And everyone's like, "Oh, you'll do fine. And then we had a E4 that was in charge of us. And he was like, "Oh, you're gonna do great private, blah 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 blah." I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'm starting to feel a little good about this." I take off, and I'm like, "Oh, I left my paperwork back on my bunk." So I turn around and come back, and he's telling the whole group how I'm not gonna make it, and how I will not. I mean, just look at this picture, right? You got a dude that's in charge of holdovers, which means that they're pretty much the bottom of the food chain in the Army. He's in charge of them. Every time I seen him, he had a cast of some sort on. So he's never moving out of there. He's going to be forever E4. I'd like to meet that dude, right? Because he was like, "Oh, he ain't never going to make it, never." And I come back in, and he's like, "Oh, hey," like get my paperwork, and I fucking leave, and I'm like, "Okay, all right, yeah."
Yeah, that's sad.
Spoiler alert, I made it.
Yeah, retired and everything.
Retired.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, I remember coming in at the age of 20, and I remember the recruiter telling me, "Hey," because I scored really low on my GT, so he's like, "Well, you want to be in the medical field?" So I was like, "Yeah," He's like, "Well,
you already knew when you come in you wanted to be in the medical field?"
Yeah, I was like, because I was in high school. I went to health, like we had the vocational school thing where you could like do like
little
you could be a
fairs
mechanic
and stuff too, or like did they?
Well, it was like a vocational school where you can like learn to be like a CNA,
like a trade,
like a trade, like mechanic, stuff like that. So I did like health doc, where you can like if you want to go the route of being a nurse or something like that. So I was like, well, I want to be in the medical field. So he was like, well, whatever they throw at you, like, tell them no, unless it has something to do with the medical field. So they gave me like parachute rigger, infantry, all kinds of different stuff that was thrown at me. So, I mean, I finally got healthcare specialist. Didn't know what it was until showed up at AIT, and there's a freaking sign that says "Welcome to Combat Medic."
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, they try to trick you.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
But when I was in MEPS, it was like, I'm like, what's a healthcare specialist? It was like, yeah, so you're gonna work in a hospital.
Oh, they got you.
You'll work in a hospital, and then every now and then you do like soldier stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, soldier stuff. Of course, I'm in the Army. Of course, I'm gonna do soldier stuff. I'm not gonna just be in the hospital. But sign me in. Boom. Fucking healthcare specialist, man.
I happened to do really well on my test, but what they don't tell you is when they give you, after I took my test, they gave me a piece of paper and said you qualify for all these jobs, right? And I'm like, all right, cool, thinking that they would take the bottom ones off, but there was like fire support specialist on there. There was like all these like from I scored like this, so they gave me every job down, and I'm like, God. I'm like, what's this? And they're like, well, let's put a tape in for you, because they had VCR tapes back then. And they're like, let's put a tape in. So
was it the beat? Oh, that you get?
No, it was actually licensed practical nurse, and it was a tape on what they do in the military. Same thing. They were all in hospital, mostly females.
Got like stethoscope.
Yeah, they're just living the life, and I'm like, I want to do that. Yeah. Never had any medical experience, nothing, no desire to be in medical field whatsoever. Never talked to nobody about medical, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I want to be inside, and yeah, didn't work out too well. My first duty station, I was in the 212th MASH, which was a mobile army surgical hospital. No indoors, unless we created them, and only for a certain amount of time because you're picking up and moving again. We're mobile. Yeah. That was our thing. I was in the last MASH in the Army.
Yeah, then it was like cash.
Yeah, they switched to cash.
Yeah, I remember getting there. I'm like, combat medic, huh? All right. And they fucked my paper up because I was supposed to go to Fort Jackson for basic, and I ended up at Fort Benning.
Relaxing Jackson. And you got Benning.
Benning.
The total opposite.
And they were like, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, whatever.
Did you make it?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
But I was like,
you're here.
I was like, if they tell me I'll be all right, okay, I guess I'll be okay because I don't know any of these places.
And I joined. I came in at 22, so I was older than everybody, like pretty much in basic. Like my people I was with, my fellow soldiers, and I still believe everything they said because I didn't know any better. It was like it was a pretty crazy time.
I'm like, hey, you'll be all right.
You talk about, and the reason why we brought this up in the first place is because we were talking about being scared of the unknown. So you got these people that are still in the military and they're like 50 something, whatever, and they're just afraid of the unknown. That's why they're still there. And it takes a lot to say, I think, in my opinion, it takes a lot to be like, you know what, I'm going to retire. Because it's just a big, when I retired, there was like a big, I mean, I felt secure that I could handle it, but there was a big emptiness out there that I had no idea what was. It was like a dark room and you're just like doing this.
Yeah.
Luckily, I found something right away and it was good.
But nobody, like, I mean, everybody's trying to help you, but at the same time it's like, well, like, you guys need to like shine a light a little bit brighter. Mm-hmm. Because if like you said, it feels like you're just in a dark room.
Well, that's one thing that I realized about the military. From an early age, you can bleed, you can sweat, you can cry over. You can think that you're so involved and that you're loved in this one place, and when you leave, they keep on going.
They keep on going
without you, just like you never existed.
Expendables.
I worked when I was in the 212 MASH. True story. 212 MASH. I was there for 4 years in Germany. We deployed. Like I fought with these guys. Like we got attacked. Like it was crazy. Like the movie Band of Brothers. They were like my family, right? When I left that place 3 years after we deployed, so after 4 years of being there, my name was misspelled on the plaque.
Oh man!
And I was like, well, I guess it was like it was like being in a relationship with somebody, and you're like 100% involved in love, blah blah blah, and this person is like, oh, we just had one date. Like, what do you know? Like, I'm seeing other people. Like, yeah, it was like I felt so betrayed, and I started learning. I knew that once I left the Army's gonna go on with that. The Army's way bigger than me.
Yep, it's always
way bigger than me.
It's just about what you have to fight to get, what you deserve.
Which really made it easier to retire because I knew that the Army's gonna be okay, and to think that it wasn't without me is foolish because the Army's been there before me. It's gonna be there after me, and I was just a little speck of that.
Yeah. That's why I get, I'm like, you know what? It's time to hang it up. Time to hang it up, and I shouldn't feel some type of way because it's going to keep on moving. Yeah. Regardless. So.
But the good thing about my retirement, anyway, I've seen people retire and know they have a retirement coming, and they'll just turn to shit. I wanted to sprint across the finish line. I didn't want to start jogging or walking towards the finish line. So I'm happy. I'm happy I left the way I left. Like, it was good.
Right behind you.